Hello there everyone, my name is Udit and in today's video I'll be covering through general introduction to the terms of data structure. So I've made a list of these 7 terms which you will find throughout this series of data structure. So the first thing is array, then we have linked list, stacks, queues, trees, graphs and operations on the data structure. So let's get started with the first thing, which is arrays. Okay. So an array is a collection of similar data elements, and these data elements have same data type. Okay. So the general way of introducing array, or you can say of declaring an array, is you first need to mention the type of array, then you need to mention the name of array, and then you need to mention the size of array, right? So this you need to do. Now let's take an example of an array. Let's say int is the data type. The array is of name marks. Okay, and the size of the array is 10, right? So this particular array is stored in this particular way, in an memory. Okay, so in the above statement, you can see that the marks contain 10 elements. There are 10 elements. In C, array index starts from 0. Okay, so the indexing starts from 0 and it goes till the maximum element it can store -1. It is 9. Okay, because the max element can store is 10, so -1 is 9. Okay. So if you want to store any value in the first element, or you can say any first block of memory, then you need to mention marks 0. Okay, if you want to store a value in the second index, then you need to mention marks 1. If you want to store a value in this third block of memory, then you need to mention marks 2, and so forth. If you want to store the value in the last block of memory, then you need to mention marks 9. So this is the general way of putting a value inside a array. Okay, so therefore the you can say that array are always generally used when we want to store large amount of similar type of data. Okay, so when you want to store a large amount of similar type of data, we use array. Okay, but array has certain limitations. Okay, so the first limitation is fixed size. It is of fixed size, right? So this is one of the limitations of an array. That let's take an example of this one, int marks 10. So in this particular array I can only store marks of 10 students. Okay, so if one student increase, then I cannot increase the size of array during the execution, right? So this is one of the disadvantage of array, that it is of fixed size. Okay, and the second disadvantage is that data elements are stored in contiguous memory location. Okay, it is stored in contiguous memory locations. Okay, so which may not be always available, which is very sure. This is actually basically pointing to this same point, because you cannot change the size of an array. So if the memory is not vacant, though, where you will be storing the data. So it's this is the one of the disadvantage of array. And the third disadvantage is insertion and deletion. Insertion and deletion of element can be problematic because of shifting element from their positions, right? So insertion and deletion is very tough in arrays. Okay, so you can add a value in a particular memory block in array very easily, you can fetch the value very easily, but it's very hard to delete and insert a new value in an array. It's very hard. Okay, it's not very easy task. So however, these limitations can be solved by using linked list, which we will discuss in upcoming modules. Okay, so but we will be discussing about the linked list in a very short and brief way. So what linked list actually is. So the next topic we are having is linked list. Okay, so a linked list is a very flexible dynamic data structure in which elements form a sequential list. Okay, in contrast to the static arrays, a programmer need to worry about the size of the array. Okay, so how many elements will be stored and what size I will be declared. So a programmer need to worry about it. If it in case of static arrays, But in linked list, you don't need to worry about the size of array, size of this particular memory blocks. You can create as many as you wish. Okay, so this enables the programmer to create robust program which requires less maintenance. Okay, so in a linked list there are two components. The first component is the component, it is actually called as node. Okay, so this particular thing is called as nodes. We call it as nodes, nodes. Okay, so node consists of two parts. Okay, so the first part is which is going to store the data. Okay, and the second part is going to reference to another node, right? So basically in a linked list, one of the block of a node is going to store a data. This is going to store a data, and this particular block of memory is going to point to a different node. Okay, so in this second node, you can say this is going to store a data, and the second component is going to point to another nodes. So this is basically an array, but the difference is that in an array you can notice that the blocks are created sequentially, means they are next to each other. But in case of linked list, they are not next to each other. They are just like they are created randomly. Like this node 1 is created at address 4954, and the next one is created at 2732 and 3421. So these all are different. This is basically is going to help you to create a sort of array which can change its size during the execution. Okay, so this is very helpful. And you can say the last node you can say is having two components. The first component is going to store a data, and the second component is basically it will be a null because it won't be pointing to any other nodes. Okay, so it's going to be null. It's going to be, the last one will be null because it's not pointing to any other you can say node. Okay, so this is the advantage of linked list is that it is easier to insert or delete data elements. Okay, so it's very easy to insert a new value or delete the element from linked list. It's very easy. But the disadvantage we are having with the linked list is that slow search. Okay, slow search operation. This is one of the disadvantage with that is the slow search and requires more space, right? So it's going to require more memory space. So these are the advantages and the disadvantages of linked list. Okay, so in the next video, in the upcoming video, we'll be discussing about the stacks, queues, trees, and graphs. Okay, and in the last which is the third video, we'll be discussing on operations on data structure. So this was all for today. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any doubts or any queries, you can ask me in the doubts center, which the link to the doubts center is given in the description box. You can just click on that link and post your question, and we'll try our best to get your question resolved as soon as possible.